Hello everyone and welcome back to Crypto News TV. In this video we're going to be talking about Clayton and his thoughts on what is required before approving a Bitcoin ETF with the SEC. So there's a little quick segment here that I'm going to play for you guys. We're not going to watch the full 14 minutes. It's only going to be a couple seconds or moments here. So let's just go ahead and watch this really fast.
You brought up ICOs. Let me go to this area. Interest in Bitcoin is off the charts by our viewers. Not since the 2000 area have I seen such interest. Tell us a little bit more about what you're planning to do with Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain this year. You brought up ICOs. I talked to my ICO friends, people who are interested in this, and they say, we're stymied. We don't know what the SEC is planning to do. Can you tell us whether ICOs are definitely securities, or are you going to carve out some exceptions, and when are you going to make a clear ruling and decision on this?
Okay, so there's a lot in that area. Let me start with the technology, distributed ledger technology. Incredible promise. It can drive efficiencies not only in the financial markets, but in a lot of markets. Fine. Two areas in the financial markets where distributed ledger technology has come to the fore. Cryptocurrencies. These are replacements for sovereign currencies, replace the dollar, the yen, the euro with Bitcoin. That type of currency is not a security. Let me turn to what's a security. A token, a digital asset, where I give you my money and you go off and make a venture. You have some company you want to start or something you want, and in return for me giving you my money, you say, you know what, I'm going to give you a return. Or you can get a return in the secondary market by selling your token to somebody. That is a security, and we regulate that. We regulate the offering of that security, and we regulate the trading of that security. And that's our job, and we've been doing it for a long time.
So you're saying the classic definition of security, you invest in a common enterprise with an expectation of profit. You're saying the way you look at most ICOs, they are securities.
Correct.
Are you planning now to make a clear statement on that? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion about whether anybody is going to get approved or not.
Bob, I hope I just did. If it's a security, we're regulating it. And let me just, we've been doing this for a long time. And we've built a $19 trillion economy, a securities market that's the envy of the world, following these rules. If you have an ICO or a stock and you want to sell it in a private placement, follow the private placement rules. There's no secondary trading. You know, you have to do that. If you want to do an IPO with a token, come see us. File financial statements, file disclosure, take the responsibility our laws require, and we're happy to help you do that public offering.
You seem to be saying that the SEC is not going to be changing the definition of a security just to suit the ICO community. Is that right?
I'm certainly not going to support that.
Okay. Let me move on. What about altcoins? We have discussed Bitcoin, but there are other altcoins out there.
All right, so that was a previous auto recording. We could see the cryptocurrency prices here. So this was an older interview, but which is most important is this article, which is published 6 hours ago on CNBC, where they actually talk about what Jay Clayton has as far as his requirements for ETFs to go through comfortably, or for him to approve this type of investment vehicle. So we can see here, first is a lack of market surveillance. So he needs a very strong market surveillance and overview of those cryptocurrency markets and the traded funds, because most cryptocurrency exchanges don't use the same monitoring tools as stock exchanges. Clayton said investors may not get a fair assessment of Bitcoin's price. What investors expect is that trading is the commodity that underlines that ETF, or electronically traded fund, that makes sense and is free from the risk of manipulation. Clayton said that the Consensus Investment Conference in Manhattan, it's an issue that needs to be addressed before I would be comfortable in approving an ETF. Now, the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ have what's known as surveillance or other systems that monitor, prevent, investigate abusive and manipulative activity on these exchanges. So he wants something that's similar to what the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ currently have, what they call is surveillance over these exchanges, before he could actually continue to feel comfortable Also, those kinds of safeguards do not exist currently in all of the exchange venues where digital currencies trade. There are outliners, though. In April, Nasdaq announced a collaboration with digital currency exchange Gemini, founded by the early Bitcoin investors, the Winklevoss twins. The deal gives Gemini access to Nasdaq's surveillance technology to help make sure the platform provides a fair and rules-based marketplace for their own participants. Gemini CEO Tyler Winklevoss said in a statement. So that's cool to see that Gemini may actually be getting what Nasdaq currently has and what they call their surveillance technology for their exchange. So to see this on a cryptocurrency exchange such as Gemini or even Coinbase or Coinbase Pro would actually be really cool to see. You know, exchange traded funds track an index or a group of assets but trade live stocks. Analysts say the approval of one could bring in a wave of institutional buyers, and because Bitcoin has a fixed supply, theoretically could push up prices. The agency has rejected multiple applications for cryptocurrency ETFs. In its decision to not approve the Winklevoss Brothers ETF, the SEC pointed to the risk of fraud and market manipulation and the challenge of investor protection. But it seems like the Winklevoss may have that solved if they're able to get this surveillance technology integrated with their cryptocurrency exchange. So custody needs to be improved. How to safely store these assets is a major roadblock. While Bitcoin's price itself certainly is volatile, investors could also be exposed to a risk of theft in the underlying asset. And you know, we have seen this, and it has actually hurt the price of Bitcoin with, you know, other exchanges that are having to, you know, undergo different court proceedings and actually pay out those holders of Bitcoin after large attacks or hacks that happen to these people's funds. He says, "We've seen some thefts around digital assets that make you scratch your head," Clayton told Silver Lake Partners' Glenn Hutchins, who moderated the panel. "We care that the assets underlining that ETF have good custody, that they're not going to disappear." And yeah, I kind of agree with him on that one. You know, anyone that's going through these exchanges, they should have some certainty of their funds being secure or the ability to replace anything that's lost or stolen. You know, that does become very difficult with a limited supply and having to replace any lost or stolen funds. Or you could just see the exchanges having to fork out the penny on anything that was lost or stolen. Interesting to see how that one kind of develops there regarding these requirements. So let's continue on here and assume your ICO is a security. Now, this is pretty much what the whole video was about, and I can understand why they would say assume that your ICO is a security, because, you know, you are getting a token that at some point you will be selling, and typically majority of these ICOs that are, you know, quality, needless to say, will go up in value and have some sort of use case to the actual token or economy. But, you know, not to get off topic, as this is primarily towards the ETFs, but they understand that ICOs and other things within this industry kind of plague ETFs getting approved in some way, shape, or form, because how crypto is still a part of these ICOs that do come about from these blockchains. Now, is an ETF going to get approved this year? Possibly. Next year? Higher chances of next year than this year, especially if places like Gemini are able to work with the Nasdaq and their you know, surveillance system, or even if the New York Stock Exchange decides to partner up with someone like Binance or one of these other higher level exchanges to incorporate some of these surveillance mechanisms or whatnot that they want to include, so that way ETFs could go through. Now, keep in mind, not every single exchange that trades Bitcoin will have to require this surveillance mechanism for these ETFs to get approved. This is primarily just for them to, you know, kind of sleep better at night and have a nice cushy pillow for these, you know, frontline New York Stock Exchange traders to go and buy Bitcoin, where they need X, Y, and Z to be done because, well, they're not tech savvy in a way, you know. I mean, for them to keep track of their private keys is too much of a responsibility, as Clayton is pretty much saying in this aspect. So that pretty much wraps it up on this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if ETFs go through, you don't have to sell it on that exchange. You can always sell it on another exchange or buy and sell on different exchanges, trying to do some arbitraging of Bitcoin when these ETFs do go through, because it will be hectic when that happens and you're going to want to be a part of it. So do not miss out when ETFs do come through, if they are going to happen this year, next year, or maybe even the year after that. It is something that you're going to want to be a part of, because you could make some good money buying and selling Bitcoin to those that want it. So like I said, be sure to smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and if you enjoyed it and you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.